Hello and welcome to another Tabletop Games Blog Saturday review.
The sun beats down as you and the other craftsmen raise the walls, just like your ancestors once built their great stone villages. Be careful though, because if the chieftain spots your signature stones, you will be penalized. As space runs out, only the most cunning will earn the chieftain's favor and successfully build their Pueblo, by Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer from Mojito Studios with art from Silly Jelly. According to Wikipedia, and I quote, Pueblo refers to the settlements and to the Native American tribes of the Pueblo peoples in the southwestern United States, currently in New Mexico, Arizona and Texas. The permanent communities, including some of the oldest continually occupied settlements in the United States, are called Pueblos. There we go. Now you know a lot more about where this polynomial block stacking game got its name from than you ever will when playing the game or reading its rulebook. I think that's rather sad. While stealing themes and settings from indigenous people may have just been about standard fare in board games in the early 2000s, when the original Pueblo was released, Mojito Studios doesn't have much of an excuse re-releasing the game in 2024 without hiring a cultural consultant who could have ensured the game doesn't retread outdated stereotypes, but instead provide an opportunity for players to get a better understanding of Puebloans. It's a real shame that this opportunity was not taken. However, the game does a great job at looking into the future, even though it seems to ignore the past. Mojito Studios made sure from the start that Pueblo is as eco-sustainable, as I call it, as possible. To achieve this very worthy goal, all of the building blocks, player pieces, chieftain token and the feather token are made of wood and not plastic. Unfortunately, there's no mention where the wood was sourced from, so while not using plastic is very commendable, it would be even better if the wood was from sustainably managed forests. Saying that, it sounds like the paper and cardboard was made from so-called bagasse, a fibrous material left behind in the sugarcane harvesting process. It's the first time I've heard of this material, but it does look like it's a great way to make sustainable paper and cardboard. Another plus point in favor of Pueblo is that the ink they used was eco-friendly, and that the bags were also made of eco-friendly material. So overall, Mojito Studios has really been able to make a product that is much more environmentally friendly than many of the other games we see in our hobby these days. No plastic, sustainable bagasse pulp to make paper and cardboard, and eco-friendly ink. These are things that are definitely worth shouting about, and I wish more publishers would follow this example. With that out of the way, let me focus on the game itself. I love polynomial or other tiling visual puzzles. Trying to select the most appropriate tile, finding the best place and orientation for it, and being rewarded with lots of points fires up the reward synapses in my brain. I love games such as Loot, Diatoms, Applejack or Acropolis. Pueblo replaces tiles with 3D building blocks that are all the same shape, but different colors. Everyone gets pairs of shapes, one in their player color, the other in neutral white. You place the shapes so that the chieftain can't see your player color when they wander around the perimeter of the building site. Using shapes to build in 3 dimensions is what drew me to Pueblo in the first place. It's what made Acropolis stand out for me. Not only literally because players build upwards, but also because the 3rd dimension creates a delicious additional mental challenge. I also expected Pueblo's moving chieftain to create another interesting mechanism, forcing players to plan ahead. There was also exciting potential of direct player interaction, intentionally moving the chieftain to give your opponents negative points while passing by your own building block. Yet, while those 2 things did work well, unfortunately Pueblo lacks the variety that you get when playing any of the other tiling games I mentioned. It isn't a puzzle when all you do is choose between a white piece or one in your color. Sure, it was exciting to explore the game the first time, and there was room for improvement in the second game. However, playing Pueblo for a 3rd time felt like solving a Christmas cracker puzzle. We untangled 2 metal pieces. Once solved, it's done. You might want to work out how to put it back together again, but that's it. The game is over 20 years old now, so it's probably just showing its age. The new version that Mojito Studios rated has certainly updated its look. The rotating platform that you build on works very well, for example. However, the setting is so out of touch for a modern game, and it would have been better to remove the theme altogether and make Pueblo a purely abstract game. So, as it stands, I'd much rather try my hand at Acropolis. I get the 3D building element, I get a slew of different tiles that create a real puzzle for me to solve. My brain just lights up and gives me a much needed dopamine hit. Pueblo is very tactile, but that's unfortunately about it for me. Maybe my expectations were just too high, because at the core of it, there is an interesting game here. It just isn't a game that you want to play repeatedly. That is fine, of course, but it's not the type of game I want to keep in my collection.
Thank you for listening to this Tabletop Games Blog's Saturday Review podcast. Please check the description below for links mentioned in this episode, as well as to the written version of this article on the blog. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, give us some stars or leave a review. Please also tell your friends about me, and if you want to offer financial support, check out my Patreon and Ko-fi pages, links to which you'll find in the blog at tabletopgamesblog.com. So thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.
This podcast was made possible by the generous help of my supporters. Royal Patron Sean Newman, Magic Champion John Risley, Castle Guards David Miller and James Naylor, Dice Masters Alex Bardi, Paul Grogan and Robin Kay, and Shining Lights Jacob Davis, Gavin Jones, Sarah Reed and Richard Simpson.